All right, everybody, welcome back. You're listening to Entrepreneurial Web. Your host, Jeremiah Fox, here with my guest, Joanne Derwin, who started One World Project, a Spanish immersion preschool located in Windsor Terrace in Brooklyn that went from her living room. She was literally doing it out of her house, but legitimately so.
Yes.
Got an EIN, act like a big girl.
Yep.
Got that tax ID number.
Yep.
And
we needed liability insurance.
Yeah. Well, I remember when we were, our first discussions when we were doing it with, with Michelle and all those people, like that came up, and I remember personally being like, nah, man, just keep it cash. We ain't got to worry about it, because I had done a couple underground operations myself at that point. I was just like, cash only, no insurance. They're gonna get us. But yeah, it's a good move, especially with kids. And
yeah, of course.
And you guys even looked at the space that Della ended up taking, and it was just like, nope, this is like, whole place is of liability.
There's no HVAC system. It's been pulled out by very angry departing tenant.
Yeah.
Go for it,
crazy.
Jeremiah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I was like, hold my beer. I got this. What a nightmare it's been. No, I'm kidding. It's been great. And you eventually, was the next move subletting the Kings Bay Y?
Yeah. So we set up.
Well, you got popular. I remember that. I remember people saying, because Ada was still like 1. And when she was 2, we did another pop-up thing that had already been in establishment for a while. You might have known Maria. I can't remember her last name, but she just like roamed the neighborhood doing it for like 10 years.
Wow.
She was actually a public school teacher, and she was teaching somewhere around on the west side around Houston or Canal on September 11th and quit that day. She was just like, what happened to her in the classroom with the kids. She was like, and I think she felt that the DOE didn't really address things in a way that like she could psychologically handle and be around kids. And she was just like, nope, I'm done. And so she just did pop-ups specifically in Windsor Terrace for the better part of 10 years. When she finally moved away, she like moved to some farm. She was a New Yorker. Finally moved to some farm. There was like a going away party for her, and they did it at Greenwood Playground. And like, I knew a lot of the kids, but never knew that they had, taken her classes. And some of them, Ada was probably like 7 at the time, but there were kids that were like 16 that I knew when they were younger, but never knew. It was just like really great. But there's like dozens of kids that came out. But Ada had done that, and then that was the same thing where it actually went house to house on a biweekly basis. And if it was at your house, you were the assistant.
Yeah.
And provided the food, and it was super cheap, but no cash only, no insurance, all that stuff. But I remember hearing people talk about One World and like, this place is amazing. And I remembered our experiences, but it got popular really fast.
Yeah, I mean, we worked really hard to make sure that the curriculum met kids' interests. And I mean, I frankly feel like we put so much love into what we were building, and Monica and I worked really, really, really hard, and quickly brought on Sylvia to help with the finances and to really lead up the administrative team, and it felt really, really good.
Yeah.
And so we outgrew our house. Plus especially for our kids, there came a point where it was like, I just want to veg, and it's hard when there's like 12 kids here in my living room.
Yep.
So we subletted space from the Kings Bay Y, and we were there for 2 years.
And that's kind of nice, because you didn't get yourself, I mean, it's good and bad, right? Because you pay higher rates than you probably normally would.
Right.
But you're not bound to a long-term lease. You're not responsible for so many of the things that go into that, like actually having a lease in the building. Like any issues, you kind of just like passed on to them. And they had a lot of, because children were going there, they had a lot of the insurances and things like that in place already, correct, for you to operate. I mean, we did the same thing with Nanny Goat Hill when we were doing the wine bar at Crossroads. Like they had the liquor license, we just came in and did our thing and like got out. And when they were like, we're leaving, we were like, so are we bye, and got the hell out. But so in a way you had like a little incubator, right, to practice, and you ended up taking both of the spaces. Were you just in the one side the first year?
No,
So yeah,
so I mean, we used both spaces from the beginning, and you're right. It was less scary in a way because we didn't have to sign a long-term lease. There was already a fire alarm system in place.
Infrastructure built out, all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
It was and we were able to get permitted by the Department of Health pretty easily. So we did all of that, and we were there for 2 years. I mean, in the end, because it wasn't our lease, we would have liked to possibly extend, but after 2 years, they were ready to grow into the space that they had leased to us.
Because they weren't really using it during the day.
They weren't. No, not at the time.
But now they
do
full functional.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I came a point where we had to find a space to move into, and so we looked at a lot of different places.
I remember going to
yeah
we saw we talked there was talk of building a space. There was all kinds of craziness and looking at some old buildings. I remember going with, it was Marzuki, right?
Yeah,
he and I were in that old building at Holy Name, will this stand up? That was a crazy experience. That building was nuts.
Yeah. I still would love to find a way to make that building happen.
It's amazing, but
still empty.
Yeah.
But it's full of asbestos.
So did you end up in? So you ended up in a church ultimately, anyways.
Well, so in those 2 years of subleasing from the Kings Bay Y, I learned a lot about the Department of Health and Department of Buildings and the fire department, and understood that it was really challenging to change the certificate of occupancy. And so if we were to operate in a religious organization, then we could get a letter of no objection. So we just did I just looked at Google Maps and overlaid religious institutions and started calling people.
That's so street. That's awesome. I love that.
So called people.
And that church was pretty much not being used, because when we first moved to Windsor Terrace, we lived right across from that church. And even back then, 15 years ago, nobody was doing anything. There was a summer camp in there. There was no services. There was nothing ever happening really.
Right. And so they called us back at the International Baptist Church, and they were using the space for Sunday services at the time, but it was empty at all other times.
Right.
And so initially we shared the space with the church, but then that was subleasing from the International Baptist Church. But then they were able to find space in the larger church on Coney Island Avenue in the Circle.
Sure.
And so we had the space to ourselves.
Amazing.
We started doing improvements. We thought initially it was going to be it was going to be maybe $50,000, and it ended up costing us $200,000.
I know that story.
To get the space up.
Dollar was the same way. It was this should be $150,000, and it was tick 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 tick.
Yeah. But now we're there. We love it.
And you were able to expand your offerings in a big way, and you got UPK right around the same time, right? UPK status, and
right.
And really there's a big waiting list. Your school is very sought after at this point.
Yeah,
correct?
I mean, we have a preschool, we have an after school, we have camp programs, but most importantly, we really want to be a community center,
right? And
to be a place.
You offer classes for adults in Spanish. You guys do get-togethers and a bunch of different things.
Lots of different things.
So before we wrap up, I wanted to bring this up, because when Ada was leaving to go to public school, she was going into kindergarten. There was a little questionnaire, and it was if there was one thing about One World you would change, what would it be? And my answer was offer kindergarten through 5th grade, so I don't have to send my kids to public school, and they get to stay in this really awesome space. So you got 60 seconds. What is the future of One World? Is that going to happen? Will Naya go to One World through 5th grade? Quick, you got 45 seconds now.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we do really, really effectively is early childhood.
Yeah.
And we also do after school really effectively. So that's what we're gonna continue to do. I do dream of opening a second location, maybe in Sunset Park.
Nice.
And there are a group of parents who have been inspired by One World Project that are trying to start an elementary school. And
ultimately, I think you want to share your experiences, right? So that would be good. Sharing the framework of this is how you do this, and be
spreading
like you said
seeds.
early, be welcoming, be open armed. You guys do a lot of. There's a big environmental component to One World Project. There's a lot of birds and trees and just really great things. And I think you probably want to share the framework of that to see doesn't have to be one world project. It can be other things, but mirrored after that and share that with the world.
Yeah. We'd love for more programs like ours to get up and running and want to be part of that.
That's awesome.
Help them.
So hopefully this was a really great way for you to start your year. Just awesome messages, start your decade, start your week, the month, whatever it is. There's a lot of really valuable lessons you shared with us today. So thank you. It was really awesome having you on the show.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeremiah.
My pleasure. All right, everybody. We'll check in with you next week. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web. Have an awesome weekend. Peace out.
Okay. Take care.